What's up, peers, and welcome to Let's Open Source Everything, the tech show here a bit on the WCN, on the World Crypto Network, where we talk about just cool stuff that is happening in open source hard and software. And today we're joined by two amazing entrepreneurs and builders and coders and developers. First, we have Adam Nopara from the amazing Wasabi Wallet. What's up?
Hey, Max. Thanks for having me again.
Well, always a pleasure chatting with you. We got lots to talk about. But we also have Michael joining us from the Noddle project. What's up, Michael?
Hi, thanks for having me today.
Both recurring guests. We talked with Adam a lot about the Wasabi Wallet, and we talked with Michael about his cool project, the Noddle Bitcoin and Lightning Full Node at the Hackers Congress. Michael, could you maybe just go a bit into the project of what does the Noddle actually do?
Yeah, sure. So the Noddle is basically your payment and banking service in a box. It's a little black box running a Bitcoin full node, optional Litecoin full node, and Lightning Network Daemon, and also the BTCpay server from the great Nicolas Dorier. So you can just plug it in and accept Bitcoin and Lightning payments and verify them on your own node.
Okay, so that sounds nice. It's a complete open source project as far as I know, and all the amazing other open source software that is integrated, like the BTCpay server. So, Michael, what was your experience with working with the BTCpay server? How accessible is it?
It's a great product, and there is a huge community around it. I just read on the Slack yesterday that like 100 shops in some city in Italy are using now to check out customers, and they processed like some incredible number of transactions in Bitcoin and Litecoin on the first day. So it's really amazing, and yeah, so these guys are really helpful. There is a few guys outstanding in the BTCpay community. Yeah, and there are also third-party hosting providers, so you can just run your own in one click if you want.
That is really cool. Adam, you as a wallet developer, how have you experienced, or have you worked with the BTCpay server, and what are your thoughts on it?
You know, I did not work, but I'm actually Nicolas's Padawan, so I learned everything from him back then. You know, I didn't get BTCpay when he started working on it, but now that looking at it, and it really disintermediates these payment processors, and that's great for privacy.
Oh yes, absolutely, and privacy and self-ownership of the funds are so important, right? And that is of course a non-custodial payment provider like BTCpay server, which is completely transparent and super usable. But of course, the fact of running a full node in general, right? And Adam, where do you see the importance in running a full node?
I mean, it depends on what's your goal by running a full node. Verifying the transactions, you can be more sure about the transaction happen. That's a good goal. Another goal is that you don't expose your addresses to a third party, which for very, very long time it was only possible with the full node, but now we have other solutions. Yeah. So it depends on what you're using the full node for. Or for example, it's a good use case that Bitcoin Core probably has the highest quality code base out there. So if you want to mitigate the chances of your getting hacked, then you might want to choose Bitcoin Core. It's not really about the full node. It's just about the hundreds of thousands of developers working on it. Yeah, so it really matters on so context matters, you know.
That is true. And Kato, you're working closely with nodes in your project. What have you learned, and why are you emphasizing this ease of use for a node?
I
Oh,
am
sorry, a question for Michael. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, so definitely we need more full nodes running on the network. I would slightly maybe disagree with Adam on one point. I think multiple implementations are very important in the community, like we've seen with the latest bug we had on Bitcoin Core. Other implementations were not necessarily vulnerable to this, and having multiple implementations running is something very good, because you can still have a majority of the network not being vulnerable to something. On the other side, of course, I'm against too much diversification, and I believe that the more people are concentrated on one product, the greater it will be. And yeah, basically, we need more developers contribute to the main reference implementation.
Yes, and that is a fine line to draw, right? How much diversity do we want to have in the consensus verifying layer, right? Because eventually we want to reach on consensus there, and having different implementations on the consensus level might lead to an unintentional fork between these consensus or consensus clients. Adam, where do you see the trade-off here of diversifying with several implementations or having one single core implementation?
So, it's we should. I think we should have one implementation that handles consensus code. Are you still here? So we should have one implementation that's about the consensus code, maybe the peer-to-peer, but above that, the wallet functionalities and everything else can be diversified, because that doesn't lead to consensus failure.
Yeah, and as you said, the most people work on Bitcoin Core, right? That is just such a robust developers community, especially version 0.17, which had the most numbers of developers working on it and most contributions so far. Let's hope the community continues to grow. But Michael, yeah, where do you see the importance of having several code reviews, and that naturally is a tendency towards one implementation in that as well?
Yeah, you're probably right. If we concentrate the efforts on code review and more people on the core implementation, we would tend to have one very good implementation. I also agree with Adam that maybe the features like wallet and higher level features, not talking about removing them from Bitcoin Core, but making them maybe more optional. I mean, you can build it without the wallet, but who does that actually? Most people probably build it without the UI, but not without the wallet features.
And we talked to Larry Newman at Riga at the Baltic Honey Badger conference, and he announced that they were removing the back layer of their green address wallet, so that they have a complete separate developer kit, the green developer kit, which handles all the fancy cryptography stuff, all the signature creation, all the key generation signature and everything. That is done in a complete backend, and that even removes the user interface from the wallet, and can be done separately without focusing only on the cryptographic stuff. So is there even more going to be a tendency that wallets are even further ripped apart in that sense, that there are several different implementations? Adam?
So actually, in Bitcoin Core, there is Bitcoin D, Bitcoin CLI, and the Bitcoin QT. Bitcoin D is just a daemon that's what servers run. That's with the daemon and an RPC, and the Bitcoin CLI can communicate with the daemon. And there is the Bitcoin QT, which is actually what normal users use on their laptops and stuff. It's the user interface, so it's already modularized, and people are trying to modularize it. It's kind of hard job because there are things that people like me who came in and don't like changes in Bitcoin Core because it breaks my software. That yeah, we're kind of preventing it from further modularizing it, but yeah, it's actually a good tendency in that direction. Yeah, and also the the crypto library that the core developers wrote because of OpenGL was had a bug. So yeah, that's another completely separate module there.
Michael, where do you see the trade-offs between having changes in the core code so that we might add some new features before it might become even more hard to change the stuff in the code, or being already from this point being like, we don't want to have too many changes, even more conservative development, which may be the bug that you previously spoke about that happened with or was fixed with version 16.3. Maybe being a case for not doing too many upgrades to the code?
So I think the more we will have layer 2 solutions, the less we will need to change things in the core except fixing existing issues. Yeah, I think definitely the core should stay as simple as possible and as robust as possible. And the more we'll try to add features in it, the more we can provoke bugs like what happened. I mean, yes, optimization is cool, but of course, we've seen what happened. So
yeah. So
additional layers are probably the way to go, in my opinion.
So when will we go full Ethereum and have Turing completeless on the base layer?
Hopefully never.
But CryptoKitties, we need it.
I can do that on Lightning probably.
So Adam, yeah, maybe you said that you had that some of your code was breaking because of changes in Bitcoin Core. So how, as a like hardcore user of Bitcoin Core, how much are these changes affecting you?
Well, you know, I'm the one who complains about it, but not I'm the one who suffers because of it. Because I'm one of the guy who is working on Bitcoin Core, and I follow the changes very closely. But I can see a lot of people to fail and get surprised by some of the changes that's happening from version to version. Maybe it's a temporary thing because right now they are working on a multi-wallet support things and similar things which required more changes than previously. So yeah, I don't have problems with that personally, but other developers who are not following, you know, people who are working 8 hours a week and care very little about how Bitcoin Core is progressing forward, they can get surprised by some things.
And Michael, maybe could you go a bit more into the bug, and if more or a different style in code review and changes to the Bitcoin system might have or how we can in the future make sure that these kind of bugs do no longer happen?
I'm not sure I'm enough a enough good coder to have an opinion on that, but from what I understand, the consequences of this bug were pretty hard to predict actually, and what happened is, I mean, the bug happened long after the optimization, so there are so many moving pieces in this code, and I guess probably no one could predict that. But yeah, if we talk about breaking changes, for example, I've seen yesterday Nicholas complaining or before yesterday, because actually Bitcoin Core 0.17 changed slightly the configuration files. So it broken all the testing chain of BTCpay server because we are running Docker, and for test you can have now in the bitcoin.conf file you can have configuration for the testnet and the mainnet at the same time, and they didn't handle that properly. So yeah, it was means it's little changes, but if you don't expect them or you don't have time to follow all the open source projects and the consequences it may have on yours.
Oh yeah, and software is quite complex stuff, and some changes, especially in coming together, as we saw with the bug. It was not just one code implementation; it was code that used to be redundant. Got with further shifting of the code no longer to be redundant. Actually, a part of the code that was removed was essential to enforce consensus. So even changes that you make now could be affected by changes that have been done years ago. So that is the really complex issue of software. It's never complete, and there will always be bugs. Probably there is no such thing as perfect software. So trying to make sure that the Bitcoin consensus layer stays robust is a difficult task. Adam, do you think that we will come to a stage of perfectness in the Bitcoin code?
That's a really good question. I mean, it's pretty close to that already, People are using the best practices. There are there is no perfectness, because for one decision is good from one point of view, and in programming every decision is a trade-off. Almost every decision, yeah. So there is no perfect code. We can go down to assembly level and write Bitcoin Core in assembly, machine code, and maybe that's how you.
When do we start?
Absolutely. Okay, so maybe Adam, let's take a look again at the amazing Wasabi wallet and how cool it is with having coin joins integrated. And we see now here that by now there are registered peers 18 of 20. So last time we talked, this was still at 12. So you've almost doubled the anonymity set per round, still with a minimum of 0.05 Bitcoin per coin join. So what are what type of liquidity improvements have you seen on Wasabi Wallet lately?
Usage is catching up very, very fast. There was a bigger influx of users last week when we released the OS X version, and now it seems like 20 users, 2 or 3 rounds a day. It's happening. It's nice to see. Already 120 Bitcoin was mixed so far, and 1.0 release is in a couple of days. Everything is going pretty well so far. Yeah, we can make Bitcoin anonymous.
That is amazing. I'm really looking forward to that. That is already a great growth, and several rounds of 20 anonymity set. That is cool. All these Bitcoins that are being washed clean again. That is just beautiful. So Michael, would you maybe go a bit more into privacy and how it can be applied to Bitcoin and especially coin joins?
So I spoke a little with the guys from Samurai Wallet, and yeah, I think coin joins are a very good thing for privacy. I mean, any type of mixing in general is very, very good for privacy. I think it also requires some efforts on the transport layer, and we've seen that with TX10, which is a fantastic product for broadcasting your transaction. I think it's not only applicable in places you don't have network, but also when you have network but you want to bounce your transactions around before sending them to the internet and to some node you trust, or on the opposite, some node you don't know. I would actually like to ask a question, Adam, because I don't know Wasabi well enough. For these coin joins to happen, do you have to keep it running long time on your computer?
Yes, until the liquidity catches up. So when we reach 100 anonymity set, we are not going to push the anonymity set higher. We just simply stay there and let the rounds to happen faster. That's the plan.
Okay. And what about the architecture of the wallet? Can you run this, let's say, processing part independently of the UI, or is it all bundled together now?
You can't. It's bundled together. Actually, I would not like to. I would not like other people to run. I know what you mean. You want a daemon, but I would not like to have daemon yet, because things how you are, how you are using the wallet. If you are using differently, then that can de-anonymize you. If you are using, for example, if you always create a change address on the second place, no, that's not a good example. Anyway, there are some user patterns before the mix, and there are some user patterns after the mix. And if there is only one user who is doing the same user patterns in the mix from the 100 people who is doing different user patterns, then that user is going to be de-anonymized. So before we are going to build the daemon, before that we should really think through where privacy can leak in these situations. It's not as bad, but it can be really bad if not carefully think through how to do these things. Yeah.
Okay, understood. And don't you think that having it running always on would be a good solution to remove the patterns, because basically it would be online 24/7?
Remove the what?
To remove the pattern, the using patterns, because as I understand it, what you worry about is that when the users come online and offline, can for example show in what time zone they live, or things like that. If it's running on a server or on a box at home, but 24/7, maybe it would be something interesting.
It depends on a lot of things. I don't know really.
Sorry, my questions are probably stupid because I don't know the subject enough. Just an idea.
You know, I'm just thinking that what kind of user patterns can. I mean, if you so we have an API actually can be reached over Tor, and that's where we are using Wasabi Wallet, and there are easier examples if we are talking about the web API. So we cannot prevent anyone from using that web API, of course, because that's just not how it works. So, but if someone would decide to build a wallet against that web API, what we are using, then that wallet would 100% behave differently. For example, maybe that wallet would use different scripts like native like pay to wrap SegWit scripts, which our wallet doesn't use. So if a wallet uses before the mix and after the mix wrap SegWit things, then that's obviously who they get de-anonymized, or for example they would use fixed fees, and then before the mix and after the mix the same fixed fee, then and that's the de-anonymization. So this kind of smaller things. Maybe if we build a daemon, then I'm not even sure if there are user patterns that can leak information. Now that I think about it, yeah, we have actually a daemon in our roadmap, but I mean, we have to do other things have more priority. Yeah, probably with the daemon, if people would use the daemon, that would be sufficient. Really, you have to think it through if there are information leaks. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and that's a pattern that I just see with the Wasabi wallet on every level. Regardless which question you ask, Adam is going to answer with, well, we have to preserve privacy first. Right? So that is the fundamental baseline for pretty much every line of code in Wasabi. So that's why I think it's such an amazing project. Adam, how far are you willing to take privacy, and how many trade-offs are you willing to take?
So, yes, as you said, privacy first and usability second, because usability, actually, the more usable a wallet is, the better its privacy is, because the more users there will be, so you will hide in a bigger crowd. What kind of trade-offs are we making? Well, for one, we don't use full nodes, so you're not validating your transactions. I don't see any other major trade-off. Well, we could build, we could make it to use Bitcoin Core optionally, but I mean that's something that code must be maintained and it does not relate to privacy. So I'm not really keen to do that work yet, at least.
Well, but then, Michael, how would you suggest that you could connect a preferably always-on wallet like Wasabi to a always-on full node, like either a Raspberry Pi or, of course, your Noddle?
So the idea behind my question was actually, would it be possible to run the daemon part of Wasabi Wallet on the Noddle and use your computer just to use the front end part of the Wasabi Wallet to connect to the daemon and send or receive your, to send your transactions? This is a general idea. I would like to dig deeper with the Noddle, is to run as many headless services as possible on the device. For example, one idea was to run Bisq, but Bisq is also a self-contained application, so it poses many challenges. But yeah, as soon as an application can be separated in some, let's say like some web applications in some backend and front-end part, we could possibly run it on the Noddle and really build a service platform around this box and not only a Bitcoin full node. So
actually, there is a way, because BTCpay is written in C# and we have a self-contained application, but we have a UI project and a backend project. So the backend projects can be just simply imported into BTCpay C# project, and that would work as you would expect. Yeah, so we have a library, a C# library, if you wish. So that's not that hard. I think it's the project is too immature to provide developer tools yet. That would be my main point.
That's really cool to hear. I can't wait until it will be ready to integrate.
And the funny thing is that Adam has like dedicated how many years? 2 years at least of active coding, research and development, much more. So it's still in the early years. Don't trust it.
Yeah, it started with Join Market. I wanted to build Join Market graphical user interface. They didn't have at the time. It was when Join Market started. I'm not even sure they have now, but in the meantime they had. Anyway, my point is that I wanted to do that, but I had some issues, and then I wanted to rewrite Join Market from the bottom up. It was maybe in 2015, and then I went to Nicolas Dorier to learn about Bitcoin programming because I didn't want to write code in Python. And then I was working with Nicolas Dorier, and I realized that it's too hard to rebuild Join Market in C#. So I would rather learn Python and build the stuff. Anyway, your question was how many years? 2 or 3? Yes, it was a odd idea, and still working on that with little segues. Yeah.
That is dedication for you. Piers, if you like the show so far, please check out these websites, these two amazing websites at wasabiwallet.io, where you can get the Wasabi Wallet, which is amazing. Check it out. Also go to nodl.it if you want to check out the really, really cool Bitcoin and Litecoin and Lightning Network full node with BTCpay server. Cool stuff at nodl.it. And if you like the show so far, you can throw a couple Satoshis to the Purism Fund to get the open source hardware and software laptop. We received another donation, and that was this fellow right here, sending 0.0015. And we have one here from a Beck32 address. That's amazing. Use the latest version of Bitcoin. Perfect. Of 0.007. So we are already 0.26 here. And we only need 13% more to get our hands on a juicy Purism laptop. That's going to be interesting. I love this laptop. So Piers, thank you so much for your support of the World Crypto Network. And let's jump right back in this discussion. And maybe shift it a bit to something else that has been interesting to me for quite some time now, and that is sidechains, which have been in the makings for quite some bit. But just a couple days ago, the Liquid sidechain finally released on mainnet, and is, I think, working so far. So let's see how that goes. Michael, have you looked into sidechains, and what are your overall thoughts about it?
So I've looked into sidechains mostly for the digital proof kind of applications, because many people are building ICOs and shitcoins around notary and different kinds of proofs and signature applications. But there are fortunately some companies who try to do it on Bitcoin and do it pretty well. Again, some French company, probably heard about Wallet. So they are a digital proof provider. They build side chains and then they commit the signatures to the Bitcoin blockchain. Yeah, actually, I think sidechains are the real answer to what most of the shitcoins are trying to do. And so Liquid is a particular type of sidechain because, like, say, as I understand it, it's rather some corporate big players sidechain. I don't completely understand it yet, because for me, we are talking settlement between exchanges and big players. I mean, this size of settlements could be probably done on the main chain, except for anonymity and obfuscation reasons, but I'm not even sure it really provides that. Maybe Adam has a better view of this.
No, I was long wanted to look at Liquid because of confidential transactions, but I think it just it has a good marketing from privacy point of view, but it doesn't have such a good privacy. Confidential transactions is a great tool, but I think on other places it fails and leaks information. But I don't know exactly. It's just my intuition that it's not as. I mean, why would we need Bitcoin if there is Liquid? You know, no. Max, can you explain Liquid to us, maybe? Did you hear me, Max? right?
I think Max is frozen.
Oh yeah, he looks frozen. By the way, I was very enthusiastic about sidechain, and he's back. We have 2 Max now. I was very enthusiastic about the sidechains back then, because if you think about it, then what's the difference between a sidechain and an altcoin? Is that the sidechain is better because it just have it has the Bitcoin denomination, which is less volatile, and less volatile money is better, right? So there wouldn't be any need for altcoins anymore. But over the years, there were new and new altcoins, and there is just nothing revolutionary or very few kind of useful thing out there. So maybe this technology is not as promising as some people would like to believe. Maybe we should just concentrate on building some money, because we don't really have any other application or real life example after 5 years of millions of dollars pumping into an ecosystem. Billions, billions of hundreds of billions of dollars pumping into an ecosystem, still not producing anything useful, you know, except that Bitcoin and some places on Monero. It's yeah, so I'm not as enthusiastic about sidechains anymore, because maybe they are just not that useful. Maybe because altcoins are not that useful, not as useful as we back then thought. That's what I think. What do you guys think?
Well, I do agree that the Bitcoin base layer has, as a sound monetary system, a tremendous network effect, because there is a natural tendency both towards one single sound and voluntary money in the marketplace for most transactions, not everything, but for most, especially for the store value aspect. And then you have, and the unit of account. And you have a also network effects on well, the infrastructure level, right? It's the network effects of Bitcoin full nodes being connected, of the miners in the network, and all the exchanges and all the all the users, of course, right? That is a huge network effect that has, in my opinion, a strong tendency towards one protocol, just like there's one TCP/IP. And however, I do like the competition and the open source aspect of it. And especially because the competition is constrained on the base layer, or let's say the innovation is constricted on the base layer, because it has to satisfy consensus rules, right? Getting upgrades to Bitcoin Core is rightfully so quite difficult, but that limits innovation, although we might want to have stuff like Schnorr or confidential transactions on the base layer, maybe. But with sidechains, we relieve this restraint of the consensus rule to have true permissionless innovation and really do crazy stuff, like having CT and having Schnorr hopefully soon integrated on, or I think it already is on Liquid. So how about having these additional features, so to say, now in a more permissionless system on Bitcoin? Michael.
Huh. That's a hard one. Yeah, I mean, Schnorr signatures are probably a very good thing. It's a subject which I have to explore, because I mean, some people explain to me why it's good. I don't quite get it yet. But I understand that it's something pretty much vital in the base layer, so I would be happy to see it happening.
There are so many questions there. For example, Schnorr signature is simply making a transaction smaller by having only one signature instead of as many inputs there are in the transaction. For example, take my coin joins in Wasabi as right now 20 participants. That means at least 20 inputs. So instead of paying for 20 signatures you would pay for one signature, which would be which you could completely wouldn't even have to care about the paying after the size of the signature if there are enough participants coming into the transaction. So that's quite interesting. It still has problems because Schnorr signature shame is interactive, which I will probably find a solution for that, but I can explain what's the main problem with Schnorr signatures from an implementation point of view. That right now, if we have a big unsigned transaction, then we can give that unsigned transaction to all the users, and the users just give back their signature, right? But with Schnorr signature, they cannot just give back one signature. They have to sign on another person's signature. So now there is a lot more communication between people because they cannot separately sign. They have to sign one by one. That's an interesting problem, probably solvable. Yeah, that's about Schnorr.
So if I understand you well, it's probably better for privacy because you have only one signature, so you don't have all the details of all the signatures?
Well, it doesn't matter from that point of view. Why people say Schnorr is good for privacy is that because CoinJoin transactions can be smaller. So that's really the only reason. It's an incentive, not a technical reason. It's interesting, and I'm not 100% sure. I would say that, but maybe if we can build coin joins with Schnorr and people start using it, yeah, you can say that it's a good incentive for coin join. Is it good enough? It's a good question.
So how about what is implemented on Liquid, which is a combination of both Schnorr signatures and confidential transactions? How does that together improve privacy?
You know, confidential transactions solves everything from privacy point of view. It just you don't have to worry about so many things because confidential transactions hide the amounts, and if we hide the amounts, then we solved everything. That's why Monero is so easy to build privacy things on Monero, because yeah. But on the other hand, I mean, can you explain to me Liquid, maybe, Max?
Well, Liquid, basically, it's a federated sidechain. So you have from a group which is called Watchmen, they organize a multi-signature on the Bitcoin base layer, where they put in, let's say, 10 Bitcoin. And then with a SPV proof, they can use this proof to, on a separate blockchain, doesn't even have to be a separate blockchain, can be a DAC or whatever, but on a second database that has some attributes of digital currencies as we know them today, they can use this base layer parent chain SPV proof to release tokens on the sidechain. And so how Liquid does it is that it has a blockchain, but with only one chain header. However, it does not rely on proof of work, but on a federation signing of 23 federation members who are in a non-dynamic order. So we know who these are, and we know in which order they are going to propose their signatures. And that provides for steady 1 minute block time and final settlement within 2 blocks. So 2 minute final settlement time. And there are some, of course, trade-offs and some trust issues. You have to trust these federation because a 66% majority can basically steal all the funds. So all the Bitcoin on the base layer could be stolen by the Watchmen colluding. And I don't think there's censorship risk by the federation, but there's definitely the theft risk. by these watchmen, as far as I know. But it's complicated.
I wonder of the information leak, because yeah, what kind of information you are leaking with Liquid? That's the big question for me, and I really want to look into it, but I did not yet. Yeah, it's probably there is something. It's like I'm pretty sure, and I'm 99% sure that there is some information leak, but I don't know.
Well, I do not think that there is KYC required for a user to purchase these sidechains. So at least not that, because you can cross-chain atomic swap between the parent and the sidechain. So without issuing new liquid Bitcoin, you can swap your Bitcoin on the base chain for liquid Bitcoin on the sidechain. And that can be done in a decentralized fashion without KYC. So that is nice. That will, I would hope, obfuscate some things, but still, you need a lot of network protection to do that anonymously. Adam, maybe have you looked into cross-chain atomic swaps and stuff like that of how to enter such a sidechain?
I did not look into that. I like to stay inside Bitcoin.
Exactly. That's where the good stuff is at. The question that I'm also asking is if these sidechain networks can piggyback off the network effect of Bitcoin, even more so than a altcoin can do. So, Michael, what do you think of sidechains as kind of like trying to adopt the user base?
Yeah, I think they definitely benefit from the network effect of Bitcoin, because it's the biggest and the biggest blockchain, and the only one which should exist, in my opinion, anyway. But I'm on the other side, I'm not sure that the Bitcoin community is really receptive to this kind of marketing, and I think it will stay like some very niche, specialized side chains, and none or very few of them will really become mainstream, or if any.
I mean, just show me what to use it for, and I'd be all over it. Like, seriously, just show me a smart contract that can be useful for anything. It's because we still don't have any real examples. Like, can you guys tell me CryptoKitties? Okay, that was something that people used, but that wasn't something that wouldn't work much better in a centralized way, because CryptoKitties was used because it was decentralized. So because decentralization is cool, right? It wasn't used because it had to be decentralized. If you know what I mean by this. So is there any application that really requires a blockchain and decentralization? And there might be. I just can you tell me examples maybe?
Yeah, I mean, again, this example of wallet for digital proof and signature, I think is a pretty cool idea, because you, for example, for my company, I want to certify the checksums of some log files and also some invoices I send to my clients, and I will not pay a Bitcoin transaction every time I want to certify one item. So having some solution which accumulates these signatures, for example, during one day in a sidechain, I think Wallet does it every 6 hours. And they commit one single transaction for all the proofs for the last 6 hours on the main blockchain. But you can still verify all the signatures without running the sidechain itself. So it's, yeah, I think this is maybe one of the very few applications which deserve any attention, because they, I mean, obviously, when the transaction fees will skyrocket during the next bull run, you will not pay 10 euros to commit one fingerprint on the blockchain.
So you prove that it's basically a timestamp, that at that time that thing has been signed, right? That's the point of it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it does. Yeah, it's kind of like OTS proofbot and open timestamps, except it's sidechained and committed in blocks. I mean, in groups of signatures on the main chain.
When still a lot of questions about it, that it doesn't prove who signs it, and it. So yeah, blockchain can be used to prove that something has been signed at that time and it wasn't just backdated, and that's pretty much it. There are, I think, other aspects like yeah, you have to have the whole Bitcoin chain with a full node to verify that signature, and not getting it from a third party and believing him that thing happened. Yeah, I see what you mean, and yes, there are some use cases. I don't think it's revolutionary. Well, I see what you mean. Yeah, definitely. There is something to go with there. Yeah.
Well, but isn't that problem basically solved with Peter's taught open timestamp? Right, that is a way of aggregating a timestamp for pretty much every second in a huge Merkle tree and committing the Merkle root only. Maybe, and you don't even need every block, but you could do even every 100 blocks or so. And pretty much, you can do that already, and it's even completely free for putting stuff into that hash tree. So open timestamp, free open source way of timestamping stuff on top of Bitcoin. Do you need a sidechain for that?
Yeah, actually, I think it's pretty competing products. One is just nicely marketed and ready to use for someone who doesn't want to deal with Bitcoin and blockchain. And I mean, OTS is not really user-friendly yet, and I'm not sure it's even designed to become one day.
So it's the same concept, it's just different implementations.
Yeah, so curious. Do you think that these sidechains are going to be like the next ICO token craze stablecoin nonsense, or will it be more let's say rigorous scientific based, or will it just be a fad that will move away?
I think you just invented a funny acronym, ISO, initial sidechain offering.
Yeah, we should ICO that,
because sidechains doesn't fluctuate in value compared to Bitcoin, so no one's gonna care about building them. You know what I mean? You can't pump it. That's the point.
Oh no, can there be pre-mines on the sidechain?
That's a good question, actually. I don't even know. Is the liquid sidechain like mined really, or is it just a consensus between the federation? I mean, what kind of proof of work does it require, or how is it secured?
None. It's no proof of work. It is a non-dynamic multi-party signature. So the entities are known and they have trusted hardware, whatever that is worth. I haven't looked too much into it, what that whole black box thing is all about. But after a certain, I think it's 2/3 of the 23 Federation members, as soon as they have signed on their distributed servers with their own keys, then a block is considered valid. And apparently it removes the risk of forks and consensus forks, and what else was, yeah, it is a determined 1 minute block time, regardless of what, if the consensus mechanism holds. And a lot of it is based on the known entity of these federation members to have some reputation at stake.
Yeah, so it's a reputation-based, black box-based N of M signature, actually.
Pretty much, as far as I understand.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you have to look at who they are trying to compete with, right? They are trying to compete with centralized services like, I guess, Coinbase, where people are sending money to each other inside Coinbase through Coinbase. This, if you think about it, it is a good improvement to this kind of service. But I should really look into what Liquid is doing more. Yeah.
I think it's really interesting because it has some old aspects of just borrowing altcoins or pretty much copies of the Bitcoin code base, but now you can somehow piggyback that stuff off the Bitcoin main chain, and you can have ICOs on top of a sidechain, and you can have Turing completeness on top of a sidechain, and you can have a DAG-based blockchain thing on top of a sidechain. Like all these second layer consensus can completely break the base layer consensus. However, they are backed by base layer funding by base layer Bitcoin in this multi-sig, which is controlled by the Federation. So it is a curious combination, and I'm curious where it might lead. Hopefully, many ICOs. That would be great.
I'm pretty curious to see the first pure Bitcoin ICO, actually, Bitcoin-based ICO.
I don't know. That's stupid.
Well, I think it's at least better to have a stock or a equity market that is based on sound money other than on Ethereum nonsense. So at least if we have to have these equity tokens and all that stuff represented on a digital ledger or decentralized ledger, of course, with some trade-offs, because companies, guess what, are not decentralized per definition, so not everything is going to be decentralized. But having a certificate for equity on a secure ledger is definitely interesting, much better than it is currently with central clearing houses. So it's a interesting project, but it has to have sound money at its base. And that's why I think that the sound money attribute of the Bitcoin base layer is so important. Because if this security offerings nonsense will really take off and really be something that is still in use with this future economy, then it has to be supported somehow in the marketplace.
What happened to not Open Bazaar? Oh my God, which was the first store that started to accept overstock? What happened? No, they wanted to build this decentralized some stock exchange or something like that. You guys, what happened to that? That was huge news, and for a long time, what happened to that? No one, because I don't have two, but yeah, they were trying to do this. Looked like they were on the right path. Anyway, no update. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to look faster.
Well, it crashed and burned. That's what happens.
I think the first sentence on Google sums it up pretty well. We partnered with Coinbase.
That is always a good sign. That is a partnership with Coinbase. That is what you need.
And it's over. It's like there was a block explorer called Blocker.io, and we were using it on Bitcoin. And then Coinbase bought them, and that was the end of Blocker.io. they yeah, the block explorer doesn't.
Maybe Michael, let's talk a bit more about how to integrate cool stuff within the full node. You spoke previously about maybe integrating Wasabi directly on the full node. You talked about Bisq being integrated on top of the full node. So what other cool things do you think can we add to the PC of a full node?
Definitely, we need a choice of wallets running directly on top of a full node, and yeah, this separation between the UI and the core code of the wallet is something very necessary for that. Decentralized exchanges is a close second. I mean, we need more decentralization in the services we are running on top of Bitcoin. So the more we'll be running like full nodes, but also routing nodes for Lightning. Lightning is something very important. We need many channels. We need many routes. I mean, I think it's on your show. Someone said, when last time did you see your browser opening and telling you that it can't reach some website because there is no route to reach this website? That's what's happening now on Lightning. We see people coming on the BTCpay Slack channel, and they say, I tried to make a payment, but I can't get a channel between my Eclair wallet on my Android phone and my BTCpay server. So yeah, we need a lot of channels open. We need better routing in Lightning. I mean, I think we have pretty much maybe enough full nodes to have a resilient network for the base layer. Now we need to improve the resiliency of the second and third layer when it will exist by running as much of these services on top of our full nodes.
And what do you think about intermingling the hardware of the Bitcoin full node with other more usable stuff?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
A question is for Adam, pretty much the same question. So what do you think about putting additional software on the same hardware that the Bitcoin full node is running?
You know, it's similar to using a hardware wallet, right? You make it problematic because now there is the issue of supply chain attacks, right? There is a device that can only store Bitcoin, so that's going to be targeted. But on the other hand, you eliminate a lot of unreliability, a lot of uncertainty that the operating system would introduce. So there are good and bad things about it. I tend to think the good things outweigh the bad ones. Yeah, maybe this is how hardware wallets should be: completely trustless from a verification point of view, because why not? All you need is an internet connection and a lot of storage, right? So if you can do it in a full node way, then why would you do hardware wallets other ways? Yeah, you can make it easy to use a full node.
I think you have a very good point here about the hardware and the supply chain attacks, and we need definitely to see more projects like Purism. I would love to see Purism going on the server market, for example, because today we are buying servers from HP, they are Supermicro, Lenovo. We still don't know if there were spy chips on the motherboards or not, but let's assume they were, and if they were not, it's something definitely which technically could happen. The microcodes can be altered, the BIOSes can be altered. In a server, you have like 10 different BIOSes loading at startup time. It takes 5 minutes, like to just start the hardware. And it's so many places you could put something malicious and just lose your private keys or your confidential information. So I would love to see a company like Purism go to the server market and probably release some single board computer on which we could build the next generation of the Noddle instead of relying on some Chinese company.
Really cool that you bring up Purism, and I 100% agree that it is a super important project, bringing open source hardware to a fruit that is still not perfect, right? Still lots of improvements possible, but at least it's a step in the right direction. And I'm extremely happy to share with you all that voila, we have today reached a goal of 0.3 Bitcoin on the Tallycoin fundraiser for the Purism laptop. Thanks to you, the amazing donors of the World Crypto Network. You're awesome. We just received from one address here the 0.039 Bitcoin, which filled it up, so we can now get and look at that cool animation on their new website. We can get the Purism Librem 15, which is like a workstation level, all matte black everything. No logo, no bullshit, no nothing, just slick looking hardware with kill switches, with all open source hardware and software, and with amazing, good quality hardware. So really looking forward to bringing you all these tests of this cool hardware. Here, look at that, kill switches, nice. So I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you all for the donors to the World Crypto Network. But I don't want to dwell too much time on that. Maybe Adam, could you go a bit more into more trusted hardware, if we can ever reach that point, and how it might support wallets in general, not just hardware wallets?
No, I'm not really into that kind of thing, but I would really like if you would talk about this this thing that you just showed me, because I never heard of it. Purism. That's what you're saying. What is it all about? This sounds really interesting. Can you talk a bit more about it, maybe?
Purism is one of these pet projects that I absolutely adore because of its hardcore ideals and focus on privacy and individual human rights in the digital age. And that is the entire core of this project. It basically is 100, or they try to be 100% open source hard and software that takes privacy really serious on every step, similar to the Wasabi Wallet.
Can you install Windows on it?
Sorry?
Can you install Windows on it?
No, it will explode when you download the wizard. So they have security measures against that. It will give you electric shocks when you try to use the Internet Explorer. Yeah, it is really cool stuff. And Todd Weaver, the CEO and co-founder of Purism, he was on the WCN a couple times, and these interviews were quite interesting. And I completely fanboyed out. So that was, of course, because this is really cool hardware. As I said, what I really like, just from a usability standpoint, it has kill switches for microphone, camera, for wireless connection, for radio antennas, and for the phone, the Librem 5 open source hardware software phone. They even have kill switches for the broadband and GPS. So you can physically cut the wires to all the nasty stuff that is being used to surveil you constantly, and you can turn it off, which is cool. So just some of the really nice features of this hardware. But Michael, you seem to know it, so maybe go a bit more into detail why you like it so much.
So I've seen Todd first time at his presentation in Prague a few weeks ago, and it took me probably 15 minutes to become an absolute fanboy of this guy and of his product. Yeah, it's an attempt. It's not, as you said, Max, it's not perfect yet. It's a very good attempt to build something which you can trust. So basically you get the laptop, you get in a separate package a key with a digital signature of the laptop. You plug the key in the laptop, and if it blinks green, it means that the hardware and the firmware was not altered during transport, so it mitigates the supply chain attack issues. They also deactivated this nasty Intel spywares in the motherboard. They couldn't remove it physically, but they, like, as I understand it, they completely deactivated it. The next step is to build the small piece of microcode missing to get rid completely of it. And actually, since this presentation, I'm running PureOS, which is the OS coming with this laptop on my desktop computer at work, and I was very surprised because it's Debian based, and as we all know, Debian is not super user friendly on the desktop, but they actually made such a big work in the driver space and usability that it can completely replace your desktop operating system. And it comes with anything you need. It comes with LibreOffice, from what I remember. The browser is very well. It handles 4K on YouTube. It's incredible. Sincerely, I've never seen such a well-polished Linux distribution, especially with removing all the blobs and binary proprietary codes from it. Of course, I lost the use of my 2 extra network adapters because there are some Intel boards with binary blobs. But I mean, it's a trade-off, and if you want some security and some confidentiality, I can live with that. Go try it. It's on the website. You can download it and install it on your computer. Even run it from a USB stick. It's a live CD.
So Adam, are you hopeful for more secure hardware that we can kind of trust? Not really, though.
I really don't know. I'm hopeful. I don't know.
Well, let's absolutely hope for. And I'm curious to see what the Librem laptop really is like. So far, I've only seen it once in person at the Hackers Congress, where I met Todd on the show. So that was another nice conversation with him. And check out his talk at the Hackers Congress, which was truly a good talk. And he just is a radical in his ideals for digital rights and civil liberties in cyberspace. So Adam, I do think it's a quite nice fit because he values privacy. And he's hardcore. He doesn't even have a Google account. So when scheduling the event, I couldn't even use Google Hangouts, which is a shitty software. So we switched to Jitsi, which is open source. So he only uses open source software. And also he's working on a stack of Liberty, which is called just a full stack open source everything, which is the title of the show. For all apps and kernels in the backend, so everything from start to finish open source for the phone. So that's going to be really nice to see.
Yeah, I can't wait to see this device in your hands. I'm very curious how it will work in real life.
Me too. I have a friend who is looking for a laptop right now. I will try to make him buy it.
Piggyback off him and then try to like get your hands in it and play a little with it. Yeah, looking forward to that as well. And of course, lots of videos coming to the WCN. Piers, we've talked about a lot, privacy and the importance of running a full node and wallet implementations and all that good stuff. Michael, is there something you still want to bring up? Any new topics to talk about?
No, I think the key point is run your full node, and doesn't have to be mine. You can no. Seriously, for people who are in New York this weekend, go to the Lightning Hackathon organized by Fumo. It will be packed with unconferences, with hacking, and if you want to learn about running a full node and running Lightning, just go there. It will be a top class event for Lightning.
Oh yes, Jeff from Fumo, he really is working quite a lot to make Lightning really this cool thing, and so much innovation coming. I hope you've seen these videos of a bike, e-bike being unlocked with a Lightning payment. So that is quite awesome. Every time that I show the Lightning network on testnet for a couple of friends, they're blown away, just either by seeing how fast the payment really goes through, and then showing them Satoshi's place and telling them that you can now buy pixels, and this is now possible. So quite interesting, the times that we live in. And yes, Lightning, the Lightning Hack Day, first time in New York, hopefully not the last time. So check it out, quite worth it. And they are going to do live streams of some of the talks, thanks to the peers at Voltoro, who will sponsor that, which is amazing. So Adam, we've talked about a lot. Anything else you want to bring up?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, kind of out of context, that right now there is a bear market and bear market, and enjoy, guys, because it's not going to take long. And during a bull run, people you meet are not going to stick around, but people you meet right now, they are going to be your business partners in the future, and they are the ones who take it seriously. And yeah, so enjoy the bear market.
And keep on accumulating, because that's what the bear market is for. This is quite a nice chance, and I agree with Adam. During the crazy bull market, shot from what, $150 to 20,000, you get a lot of nonsense flooded into the network. And in times like these, consolidation, it really shows who is working and who is building stuff, and who is a true hogger of last resort, and who is dedicated to improving this technology. And absolutely, we have had two amazing people here on the show who prove that they really have the cojones to stick in there in the bear market and continue building amazing software and hardware. So thank you for Adam joining us on the show from Wasabi Wallet, which is the amazing privacy-focused wallet, privacy everything. And integrated coin joins, Xiaomi coin joins. Come on, anonymity sets of 20. That's amazing. I think someone either dropped off or a round finished really quickly. So something happened. And of course, Michel from Noddle, he is running a Bitcoin hardware solution for both a Bitcoin full node, a Litecoin full node, and a Lightning network node integrated with BTCpay server already, which is quite nice. We talked about the Lightning Hack Day and all that stuff, so join roast beef, eating some pizza, why not? In 4 days only. Wow, that's fast, that's quick. And guys, thanks to your amazing support here off the World Crypto Network and on the amazing Tallycoin website, we filled up the fundraiser for the Purism laptop. So we can get our hands on the Purism. I love this. Oh, look at that animation. Cool. We can get our hands on the Purism laptop and check if it really is that good. It absolutely looks and sounds quite interesting. So thanks to all the, how many was it? 31 donors who gave their part. Even we had this donation right here, which was coming off a GoTenna. So GoTenna public payments, that is amazing. Might have been this one, not sure. So a lot of cool stuff has happened in the last couple of weeks, and I'm really interested and looking forward to getting my hands on this laptop and further checking out what amazing soft and hardware projects are going to be here on this market. And one thing that we will talk about right back to back in 40 minutes at 8 o'clock German time, which should be 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock US UCT time, is going to be the Brains OS system, open source firmware for your miners. So they have found a way to open source the ASIC boost over at ASIC Boost, and that gives your miner now the same advantage that Bitmain has all along, because they have their closed source software, which only they can access. So that's going to be quite interesting. Looking forward to the chat with Jan. Yeah, Adam, any last words? Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.
And Michel as well. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Max. Always a pleasure.
And Piers, see you on the next show. Bye-bye.